Welcome to the Wellness Help Desk with your host, Nike Lamodi, certified wellness coach and personal trainer. A wellness podcast focused on providing practical tips on how to curate a healthy lifestyle uniquely for you, where we discuss wellness hot topics with expert guests and have real candid conversations. It's the one-stop shop you need to get the help you've been looking for. Let's dive in. Hey, what's up? And welcome to the Wellness Help Desk. This is episode 22, and I am your host, Nike Lamodi. So let me just give you a very brief life update. I'm currently in Chicago. I'll be here for 2 weeks, and y'all, it is cold, okay? It's a different kind of cold than what I'm used to in Cincinnati. And I know that's like a common fact, like, duh, it's winter in Chicago. But this just hits different. Like, I've purchased a heated blanket since I've been here, but it's been the weakest heated blanket ever. Like, if I put it on high, it's lukewarm and it stays lukewarm. So now I need to return it and get a different one. And I'm just like, I am just not built for the cold. Other than that, I'm having a great time. I always enjoy myself when I come to Chicago. Like, that's never a doubt in my mind that I'm not going to have a good time. But I just prefer the summertime and the Chi. So that's pretty much it for a life update. But let's get into today's episode talking about your past and how your past could be sabotaging you making yourself a priority, or worse, your future. So we're going to talk about how that thought that we tend to carry about a past event or a past experience, and how we then subconsciously think that, oh, it's just really indicative of our future. And this may sound like a thought of like, my happiest days are behind me, or this always happens to me. And so we're going to dive in today on how this can show up and sabotage your efforts to make yourself a priority and try to implement self-care. But first, we're going to start at the past, okay? You have to first acknowledge what specific event or circumstance from your past has you believing a certain narrative about your future or about you presently. So, for example, maybe you learned about how important it is to have boundaries. And so you decided to share your boundaries with someone in your life or implement a boundary for the first time. However, the person that you were expressing your boundaries to didn't even honor them, and they didn't receive the news that you're now implementing boundaries very well. So now you've walked away from the experience believing that it will always be this way every time you go to express what your boundaries are. And that thought narrative is just repeating itself subconsciously on repeat, which is leading you to not try to implement boundaries with other people, which means that you're constantly betraying meeting your own needs just to ensure that others' needs are met. And so I want to give you like a personal example of how this was presenting itself in my own life. And this came right out of my self-coaching journal. I literally opened it up and went through it. And I'll have to do a podcast episode on self-coaching and just how I do it, because it's beyond powerful and it's so transformative compared to doing passive journaling, which I was doing passive journaling for years. And I talk about self-coaching a little bit on my IG stories, but it's so good and such a helpful tool. So I'll definitely have to do a pod episode on it. My past experience that I'm going to talk about is when I was a kid. There was an adult in my life growing up that would just tell me things that I would never be able to do, or laugh about it, or to tell me that like I couldn't do it. And I would be so confident in expressing like this desire and this dream. So one of them was I wanted to be an actress. Like, I really did. I took it so seriously, y'all. I would literally like practice trying to cry on the spot, because I was like, when the director tells me action, like I want to be able to express emotion right on the spot, no matter what. And then I decided I wanted to be a radio host. So I would record like these fake radio broadcasts on my cassette tape, and I would record music from the real radio on my radio show. And these are things that I would say I wanted to do, but then would be immediately laughed at or shot down by the adult in my life at the time. And as I grew up and was older, the thought of people won't take me seriously or will I be able to succeed were always subconsciously playing in my head. And so that led me to just assume that maybe I really can't do X, Y, and Z, or why should I verbalize or tell someone this? They may not take me seriously. And so last August, I uncovered that this was a thought playing subconsciously in my head as I was wrestling with believing that I was already a CEO of my business. It was so uncomfortable in my body to say I am a CEO. And through self-coaching, I realized, because I feel like people aren't going to take me seriously and I don't think that I'll be able to succeed. And so that was so eye-opening and freeing to realize how a past event or circumstance was showing up in my present life and almost sabotaging my future. Now, for you, it could be impacting you believing that you're worthy of self-care or that you are deserving of spending time and money on yourself, or even that you can advocate for yourself and actually use the word no with a period. So as you can see, this past event was making me believe things about myself that was limiting me not just in the present, but almost sabotaging as well my future. And so what do you do once you've identified this past event or this past experience? Well, you need to reframe. How are you looking at the past? The past is there to provide lessons that you'll only take away if you see your past through a growth mindset lens. And if you're unfamiliar with fixed or growth mindset, I talk about the difference between them in episode 9. So definitely go and check that out. But some questions that you can explore when you're trying to look at your past through a reframed lens is, what did I learn from that? What would I do differently? Who do I want to become? How can I use what I learned during that time to get me to where I want to be? This is in no way applicable to any isms like racism, sexism, ageism, etc., trauma, or abuse. By all means, please work with a licensed trauma-informed therapist that can support you through uncovering those experiences and working towards your journey to healing. But by using these questions to reframe, you'll start to see, here is a lesson I can pull from this. Here is who I do want to become, and here's how I can take the lessons from this past experience and use it to get me to where I want to be in this way. So a personal example of me using this reframe concept was in dating. My past experience with dating was, trash, guys, okay? Lacked communication, prideful, selfish, just would communicate to me that I was just too much. And I really believed that I would always meet guys like this, and that's all that I would ever attract. But then I decided to reframe, right? And I decided to ask myself, what did I want to do differently? Who did I want to be? How can I use what had happened to me in those experiences with those guys during those times to get me to where I did want to be? And that led me to, one, doing my own inner work and healing and identifying my triggers and becoming more self-aware, all of these amazing things. 2, I got clear on what I wanted and qualities and values and character traits, all those things. And then lastly, I realized that those guys were just being all that they knew to be, and the emotional immaturity that they had, not working on their own inner being and dealing with their trauma. And wouldn't you know, the quality of men I attracted shifted completely after this. And so that was a process though. I don't want you to think it was like, oh, within a couple of months. Like this was years. And so this whole reframe concept is a process that challenges you because you have to be willing to look in the mirror and ask yourself the hard questions. And then courageously answer those hard questions honestly. And I think that's what gets a lot of people. They say, no, I want to do this. I want to heal. I want to do all these things. And then the moment the hard questions come and they have to look in the mirror and answer them, that's when they want to run. That's when they want to use the excuses. That's when they want to say, actually, maybe I don't want this. And you may not like your answers. There's some things that I uncover about the thoughts running in my head on repeat that make me feel uncomfortable, that I don't like, that I struggle with, or that are playing on repeat. However, processing and working through what comes up will lead to a greater clarity and facts, keyword facts, that you can then use to make informed and aligned decisions. And those aligned decisions are going to be considering your values, your goals, your motivators, who you want to be, your ideal vision for your life and for yourself. If there's anything that I've learned from caregiving from both of my parents, honestly, it's that a hard season doesn't mean a hard life. Even when that hard season feels way too long. Ooh, way too long. But also, a chapter of sadness doesn't mean the rest of my life story will be sad. And the same is true for you. If you want to learn how to use the lessons of your past to be the springboard into the self-care lifestyle that you desire, one that is thriving and not just you surviving, one that has improved quality relationships in your life, and one that leaves you with your needs being met instead of sacrificing so that others' needs are met over yours, then you need to schedule a consultation call with me. Head to the link in the show notes so you can learn more about how one-on-one wellness coaching can help you achieve just that. As you strive to improve how you care for yourself, I really want you to ask, how are you showing up for yourself? How are you advocating for yourself? And what is informing how you do that and the actions you take? Is it a thought pattern from a past experience? Remember that your past is meant to draw wisdom and lessons from. That's it for today's episode. Thank you for listening in. If you enjoyed the episode today, head over and leave me a review. This helps others find the podcast and be one step closer to curating their healthy lifestyle. Come connect with me over on Instagram at Nike_Lamodi. And if social isn't your thing, join my beautiful newsletter community via the link in the show notes. To learn more about exclusive one-on-one wellness coaching, head over to randawellness.com. As always, remember to give yourself grace.